Yeah, I think I hit one of the holes in my memory too.
I remember we listened to some Limp Bizkit with that old remake of Faye. He goes, "You gotta have faith." Well, I
I
guess
think
it
that was
would be
more to
nice.
irritate your neighbors than anything
That's
else.
true. That's true. Limp Bizkit, God. Fred Durst. Come stroll with us down memory lane. Two old guys talking.
A lot has happened in a week, man. It's
Dude,
been a week.
So much dropped. For those who've been following COE since the beginning or early on, the Kickstarter, I can only imagine what it's like for the developers. But for those following it, it's like the amount of information now that's pouring forth is like so exciting to see the ramp up. Now, I know they can't keep up. I mean, maybe they can keep up this pace. If they do, holy crap. But, yeah, there's been like lots of stuff happen over the last week that we're going to talk about today.
This might be the new pace. I mean, we've gone through a lot of silence about what's going on behind the scenes.
No,
I say silence. Silence is not the right word. It's been very sporadic.
Sporadic and dry spells, and then a drop, and then sporadic dry spells.
Yeah.
But I think this is a direct fruition of the rope bridge analogy Caspian made 2 years ago. We get one rope across, and then they show us, here's the rope, and we're like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Show us more. But now the actual rope is becoming a bridge.
They seem to work to react very quickly to negativity. And
I just think they get it as a studio. How many studios have you been around and followed where they just don't give a fuck about their fan base?
Blizzard.
Just name them, man. I mean,
Sorry, something caught in my throat there.
Whether it's consoles and Infinity Ward to, Big Blizzard or even Sony Variant, and it's just, yeah, I'm sure they thought they were involved with their community, and I think that's the deal. Is SBS is crowd funded and even with the Kickstarterversary and everything, they are relying on, and so it's not just good business to be involved and connected and reactive and proactive. It is vital.
Yes.
To their survival. If they don't, then maybe they've raised enough to where they can finish no matter what, but I think it's just vital to them. But the success of their game also, this whole game is hinged on the community determines this society, this social experiment,
Right.
They're giving us a world and saying, muck about, make a mess, have fun.
Well, and we really are in the golden age of communication. Never in history in the history post-industrial revolution, has there been more communication between the people creating things and the people consuming things?
Now, I have a question on that, because this is on topic, off topic.
Okay.
Don't you think the people in the 40s felt that way when radio was the pinnacle and they could talk across the world?
Of course they did.
Okay.
But in hindsight, radio is a terrible medium for that.
Oh, without a doubt. And
you are getting fed whatever they want to feed you, and that's what you get.
No, I'm not arguing the point of it's terrible medium or good. I'm just saying our perception right now, in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now.
No doubt.
They're going to think,
but at the same time, somebody back in the 20s, 30s, whatever, said, wow, this is the greatest time to be alive, because these people can actually come out and speak to us, in real time. We can listen to somebody say something from across the world live on this radio.
We can hear a great speech as it's being made.
But now we're to the point where we not only get to hear that speech, but we can reply instantly.
No, and I'm just, my point is, in 50 years, they're like, yeah, they thought back then they didn't have speed.
No,
of thought.
You're right.
They didn't have.
You're right.
They didn't have thought transference. Insert whatever.
And you believe they used to hook up the internet with cables and try to communicate with each other? How horrible would that have been?
They actually had something called a universal serial bus, and you had to plug it in to anything you wanted to make it work.
No, I agree with you 100%. But it's what we have, and it's better than what there was, so it's the greatest thing ever.
Agreed. It is the greatest thing to date, and I'm glad I live in this age.
My point is that I think they are leveraging this to the best of their ability to make sure that we are all on board with what they're doing.
I agree, and I think they're doing a bang-up job of it.
So,
and I'm a fanboy, and I hate the haters.
Some of the hate. Well, I agree with you that the haters are pretty bad. when it comes to this game. I was not aware of the amount of people out there who were negative, this type negative on the game, until you pointed out that podcast the other day.
Yeah, they're tools. I think, I mean, everybody's got to take it. I mean, that's a podcast. They got to take a stance and then stand by it, and they're stuck. I hope the SBS sticks it in their pants and says, "Look at the greatest game ever. You guys are fucking tools."
No, I agree. That would be great, but I don't understand people who are like us, who want to see great games made. I don't understand why they sit back and throw tomatoes at somebody who's trying to do the big one,
passionately,
the big game,
passionately pouring out their blood, sweat, and tears into having something made that could be the next to me is the next evolution of online gaming. And
I have no problem with doubt. I have no problem with people going, it looks like they're biting off more than they can possibly.
No, I enjoy
chew.
expressing my doubts about parts of this, the things that I have doubts about. I enjoy expressing them and discussing them and saying, I mean, I think I've said it in multiple episodes, is God, I hope they can do this, because it's all magic to me.
Yeah. And when people look back, when they look at this, from the outside and say, this looks impossible, I relish that thought that, yeah, it does look impossible. So how awesome is it going to be when they get it done?
Yeah. I mean,
that's my sense. Well, while the other side of it is, look at all the stuff that they can't do, and they're telling everybody they can get it done. And it's just 2 points of view, but one of them is negative and sucks, and the other one is positive, and it's right.
One of them is what fucks have, and one of them is what awesome people have. And vendor trash is awesome, so there. I said it.
Out loud. Confirmed.
Hell, you heard it here first. We love
vendor
us.
Trash is awesome.
All right, let's get into it, man.
May 3rd, Vi released, I guess, a blog. Is that what they call these blogs?
An update.
Just an update, a blog.
Yeah, and a completion of the adventure. And that's the other thing. Of people that don't know, SBS divides all of their projects into adventuring companies, just as if you were doing a tabletop role-playing game and you have an adventuring company. And sometimes, to me, it's hard to follow, even though I love tabletop role-playing games and adventures and things like that. But sometimes I get kind of confused by their analogy. But that's
as long
fine.
as it makes sense to them.
No,
that's
without a
what
doubt.
really matters.
And it kind of gives a flavor when they share it, so I get that. Like, they just completed this adventure, and it's the adventure was the sense of identity. And they released actual pictures of how they are, alpha, pre-alpha. It's all pre-alpha. Some of it's just basic wireframe, placeholder graphics, and things like that. And but it's of an actual character putting on and changing equipment, pulling it out of his bag, and giving us an idea of what they want the game to be like. So they've explained it, and talked about it on Discord and in posts, but to actually see it, and it's really, really cool to see the.
I don't think the video is an exact representation of what is going to be in the game. I think that it is a tech demo trial of moving things around in an inventory so that they do what they're supposed to do.
Right. I don't think the animations are final. I don't think, any of that. I think they just have placeholder animations, and they use the same one for, I don't know. They had a different one for putting on the helmet versus.
Well, no, I mean, there was lots of different things. They had weight, they had, rudimentary stats, they had names, but just showing that there's a person in a world with a bag full of stuff, and you can take that stuff and equip it. And then there's the little animations of them actually doing the equipping. I don't know if you noticed.
No.
Yeah. They take each thing and they put it on the person. He reaches his hand to his head and he puts it there. And there's a time where his hand is just kind of going over his head, and then the helmet appears.
Right.
And then he goes around his waist and he starts like he's buckling something. And after a few seconds, the chest plate appears. There's that timing that it takes time to put things on is implemented here.
Yes. And that's the beauty of it, is none of this stuff happens in a vacuum. It's all tied together because, most video games you walk around in your full plate armor because it's the most protective stuff, or insert whatever. But there's a downside to that. You move slower, you overheat. It's cumbersome. And
how many times in a game have you carried 5 or 6 different pieces of equipment in your bags with you so that when a certain situation arises, you can swap out?
Yeah, I need this fire protection. I'm putting it on right now.
Yeah, that's not going to be viable without some kind of retreat action where you can get behind people.
Yeah,
and
it's like
spend a few seconds doing it.
getting in a fight in real life. You're not gonna say, hold on. Let me go change the clothes.
Right. And it's not realistic. It's nowhere near realistic.
No, but
it
captures
adds a level of realism.
That's the flavor of it.
Yeah, it adds more flavor to it than what was there before.
It goes back to the snipe hunter and the blacksmithing analogy. He's not trying to create a blacksmithing simulation. He's trying to capture the flavor and make you feel like you're blacksmithing.
Right.
And to me, that's what they're doing here, is they are capturing that flavor of, hey, you wear armor because it matters. You take it off because it's cumbersome. You have to manage this stuff. So
no, you don't want to take off into the wilds in full plate mail.
Right. I mean, maybe
you want to. I'm not saying that you don't.
Any other game,
it's not going to be a good thing to do it.
Any other game, I'd do it without even thinking about it because it doesn't matter. It's either good protection and it's worth it, or it's not. This game has so much more to take into account.
How far can you march in full plate mail before you collapse?
Can you even get it on without the help of a squire?
Oh man, can you imagine?
I don't know if they'll get that, but I don't know, man. It's just cool. It's a trade-off.
Yes. How awesome would it be? You get into full plate mail, and then you can't even get on your own horse without two people coming over to assist you.
That would be dope to me, because that would keep people from just walking around and going into the tavern in their full plate with their full plate helm on. You know.
Well, I mean, basically what I got from this is that when you do come across guards in a city or a town or whatnot. Now, if you come up to like the palace doors, there might be guys in full plate standing there. But if there are guards walking around like police officers in town, they're probably going to be in much lighter armors.
Yeah, like a chain vest,
leathers,
leathers.
Things of that nature.
What it would really be if you were walking around in a medieval town.
Right.
So that being said, the other part is you can also make, because of this mechanic, you can make plate armor wildly protective. I mean, like really, really protects you well, because there is such that massive trade-off of when to put it on and being able to put it on in time and things like that. You can't just...
I wonder, this is something that I don't think you and I have discussed, and I don't think it's anything that I've read, but I wonder what kind of mechanics are going to be in the game for people getting knocked down and getting back up.
I don't know. I haven't seen much on that. I don't... I mean, if you have the strength to wear the equipment, is it worth it to add a mechanic to make it hard to get up, to make the game fun?
I don't know. From a realistic standpoint, that was the tactic used by people against enemies in full plate, was get them on the ground.
Right.
I mean, because them getting up takes time, and it's not easy.
They're horse catchers and they're lasso staves. And, yeah.
Get the full plate guys on the ground and then just beat them to death with whatever you have available.
Spears and dirks.
So I don't know how realistic that end of it's going to be, but it'll be interesting to see what mechanics come up in regards to that.
Yeah, I can't knock that. Again, I go to the trade-off of fun versus, would you ever put on plate if all you had to be was knocked over? But then
I get it depends on how hard it is to knock somebody over.
Yeah, we'd go round and round.
Yeah, no, it would go round and round.
Which depends on how much it protects you. Which depends. Okay. But no, I do love it because they can make stuff available to. I mean, obviously not available to anybody, plate armor or whatnot. But it can make it to where you don't have to make it super rare and hard to. You have to go kill some dragon black X in the ice caverns of Hades to get this breastplate. Which, if you get it, you're going to put it on and wear everywhere. It's just a cool dynamic that hasn't really existed in other games.
Yes.
Which takes us into the next thing that Vi released in this journal, which was pre-alpha screenshots of character info screen, which had the stats on there, each one color-coded, and then also the survival metrics that are going to exist in this game, whether these are the final names for them or not.
I really hope the people listening are looking at these screens as we talk about them, because I want to talk about the attributes a little bit in depth. I love that there are no numbers on them. I don't know how you feel about that.
There has to be a way to measure it.
Yeah, it gets bigger. You can see each one of them is not the same size. Each one of the little color squares are not the same size. Look at his stamina. His stamina is higher than everything else.
They're growing left to right. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have it blown up, but yeah, I see that now.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah,
those might
they're
fill
all
up.
different. See how small his reason is compared to his agility above it?
Yeah,
And
this
then
guy-
look how his intuition's even lower than that underneath.
I
His
see.
leadership isn't bad. His focus isn't bad, but his reason, his intuition are low. His will and persuasion, I'd call them medium. Leadership, intuition, persuasion, will. I mean, obviously all of them are low. So
Right.
we don't know how far that bar will go over.
But even if they don't put numbers in here, people are going to be measuring pixels and putting down,
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And I have no problem with that. I'm
players
just saying,
are going to quantify it.
I love the idea that there's no stat number. It's just a measure on your character.
I don't know how I feel about that because I love comparing myself to others.
It's not like you can run around and look at their character sheets in this game.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how I feel about that.
You compare your character to others by how they look. Remember?
I get that. But like you can't compare my intuition to your intuition by looking at you,
I agree.
or your leadership, or your focus, even your
I
stamina.
agree.
Really, because stamina is not related to your physical appearance. I mean, within reason. If you're wildly obese or even out of shape, I guess.
So are we confirming right here that if this is how the system is going to work, that Kalus isn't going to play?
No, not at all. I just I'll play this game if they release it right now, just as it stands.
Just walk around, pick stuff up, put it on, and take it off. That's all
take it
you
off.
can do.
I said this from the beginning. I think to you, if they deliver on 30% of what they're aiming for, I think this will be the next evolution of MMORPGs.
I agree with you, but you're changing the subject here.
No, I'm just saying that's how little I'm invested in any one single mechanic or choice determining whether I like this game or not. Or
What I'm
will
saying
play
is
this
that
game.
without a way to compare yourself to other players, how much of a detraction is that for you?
Very minor if they could deliver on their vision.
See, I really don't care how I compare to a random player.01,
Okay.
right? I am kind of interested in how I will compare to you, especially if you and I are trying to do basically the same things,
Sure.
right? I mean, take whatever stat you want. Let's say that agility becomes really, really important to us. So it becomes fun to say, hey, I got 4 more pixels of agility today, and you're like, damn it, I'm 1 behind.
I'm up at the G in agility.
Right.
I'm touching it. You're not.
That's interesting to me.
No, and honestly, when you put it that way, I should requalify and say I've never really cared about random person stats in another game. It's always been about, hey, what's your strength up to, or
Right.
Because I've never gone into the auction house and said, hey, random dude 02. Oh, okay.
Now, you didn't play World of Warcraft much past vanilla.
No,
right?
no, I don't think I even bought an expansion until I came back to it like years later.
Right. Well, a phenomenon happened in World of Warcraft. It may have happened in other games, but Warcraft is where I encountered it, where gear score became a thing. Where if you wanted to go on a raid or you wanted to go on a dungeon run with somebody, they would
put in a gear score.
They would go in and see what you were wearing and how your character was set up, and if you weren't set up exactly like the meta says, they wouldn't take you.
You are not allowed to participate, sir.
I think that this game will destroy that mentality.
No, and that's the beauty. Oh yeah, see, that's why I'm saying I don't care what stylistic choice they choose to represent their abilities. You know what I'm saying? It could be an arm that grows bigger for strength and a foot that gets small. You know, whatever.
How awesome would it be? You walk around and see all the people that skip leg day. Just freaking from the waist up, they're roided out Hulks. Poindexter from the waist down.
Jimmy's back. Yeah, no, and so yeah, okay, beat that horse to death.
Yeah,
the survival metrics.
Survival, yeah.
See,
man, I thought about these quite a bit because the survival aspect of this game is probably the most intriguing to me. Overall,
yes,
I love survival games. Well, you and I both love survival games. So I was really in my mind. I'm trying to think out how do you make this seem fantasy, and how do you portray it on the screen so that it doesn't look cheesy. And when I first saw this screen, with the circles, the fatigue, the hunger, and the little colored circles going around them,
Sure.
whether they're full or empty. My first reaction was, what kind of BS is this?
Okay.
It looks horrible. And that only lasted a couple of minutes before I started realizing it doesn't matter, whether or not it has a fantasy flair or a medieval flair to it.
Okay.
As long as it's functional. And this looks really functional.
I can't argue that whatsoever.
This isn't going to be on the screen all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like you have to stare at this all the time.
No, I imagine you can pull it up
when you hit that button on your keyboard to bring out your attributes and your survival stats, you want something that you can look at and instantly recognize. I think that's what this does. And I'm not even pretending that this is going to be its final form.
No, it's definitely
I'm just saying
pre-alpha.
that it is very easy and very quick.
Well, not only that,
identify.
but I like if you're walking along and you're starting to get fatigued, I think your actual fatigue will pop up on the screen.
You'll get like a little a buff
indicator
of some kind that says, "Hey, you're freaking thirsty because you haven't had a drink in a while." I get that.
And
I'm
that's
just
where I
saying
think
that
the simplicity of it is very key and important. And simplistic
and
leads to
that's
iconic-y or iconic.
That's the word that I was looking for, was simple. This is very simple. It's very easy to read. It's very quick to notice where the problem is and how to, and then you know how to fix it.
Instantly understand what's affecting you.
I think that's much more important than flavor.
Agreed. And it's not even like they're done. They could flavor it up with...
Yeah, I mean, it could end up being anything. But if I'm just saying, if the game was released and this turned out to be that sheet, when you hit C or whatever, I wouldn't be disappointed with it. I think my first reaction was just that it looks too...
But they look like computer icons as opposed to a fantasy world.
And the reality is these aren't things that your in-game character would ever see anyway. This is information for the player.
For the player.
So I love the style of it. The fact that it's so simple and quick.
And I like the circle, the meter, basically the
yes.
meter.
Yeah.
Representation. Easy to understand, quick. It can flash on the screen. If you're getting cold, it can flash there. Hey, you're getting cold.
No, I like it.
Then the final thing was a lot of screenshots, quite a few screenshots of the different biomes. They showed multiple screenshots of the tropical wetlands.
This comes back to my doubt, my skepticism.
Hit it.
How much computer is going to be needed to generate this?
No, and the other part of it is how much are you going to turn off to be able to see things coming at you sooner, or will you be able to turn? I go to PUBG, for instance, and you go and turn down your viewing distance so that it makes brush disappear so you can see people running easier through the scrub.
Right.
Hot tips for PUBG players. If you don't do that, do it. It makes you better. When's the last time we played PUBG?
I'm going to be playing it this weekend because the new map's coming out.
Oh, really?
Oh, man, I don't want to turn this into a PUBG thing. Did you see that you can select the map you want to play now?
No, but they've needed that for quite some time.
Now you can select the map you want to play, and that's the only map you queue for.
That's pretty dope.
So,
because queue time's never been a problem. Okay, no, enough PUBG talk.
We will jump out of one game right into another.
Yeah, we might love games. Okay, so that's that journal, and I'm pretty pleased with our coverage of that.
We're not going to talk about the purple flowers.
If you have a boner for purple flowers, go for it.
Just curious.
No,
dude, the scenery is gorgeous.
The game is
just
beautiful.
gorgeous.
It's just beautiful. I can't say it any other way than that. The Unreal Engine is
Unreal.
Huh?
It's Unreal.
Wow, I did not even catch that the first time.
Yeah, I know.
Stop it. Okay.
Anyway, big shout out to Vi.
Yes, great release on that one.
I spent several hours going through and dissecting the pictures and the GIF and the video, and it was well worth it. Thank you so much for releasing that.
Next release was 2 days later, May 5th. Caspian introduced the next adventure. So they released their adventure wrap-up, their conclusion, and gave us and this one, I think, if I'm not mistaken from how I'm reading it, this is the one, when they finish this up, it's time for Alpha 1.
Yeah.
And so that is very, very exciting to anybody who's been backing this, that we're getting close to getting into Vox Elyria. We already had the dev journal on communication, and we tore it apart in episode 5 of Vendor Trash. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, do so. And but in this one, I don't know if it's in response to the reaction to that or not, but
I think it is. It's my assumption that it is, because it reads just like a direct, "Hey, response. You detractors, this is what we were talking about."
Yeah. Here's your here's your pictures.
Here's your stupid pictures.
And they gave us a bunch of wireframes of what the chat functionality is going to appear to be. And again, all pre-alpha, all very basic, no flavor to it. Really, it's just very. Vanilla.
Just
vanilla,
white boxes with text on them and a little place at the bottom to type in whatever you're going to type. Your standard chat window from any MMO is what this looks like.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure Caspian said our UI is not groundbreaking. It's our system of information and how it works. It is, and that this completely lines up with it. And I said it in the last podcast. I'm 100% fine with that. You said it. If they give me the exact same chat system as WoW, I'm 100% fine with it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like there's anything groundbreaking in the UI. It's a chat box. And one thing I do like is it appears that if people are farther away from you, then their text is kind of faded. And that might be because they're talking discreet. I don't know if it's because of distance, which I think it is because they're talking about proximity chat, and or if you also are listening to someone talking discreetly. Or go ahead,
finish.
I don't know if the blue. The different colors of text are talking discreetly, where white is the talking normally. And the red is shouting.
That's what it appears to be, is that the red is shouting, just based on...
so there's different colors for different talking modes, and then it fades the farther away it is.
Right.
Like, there has been a murder is shouted in this text example, and I'll get a screenshot up of it. But it's faded. You can tell that it's, it's a opacity. Opacity has been turned down to about 50%, and you can tell it's farther away. And to me, that's really cool to see. Oh, this guy's not close to me talking, and they can do it with any of them. So if someone's talking,
right. So farther, if you see faded red text, you know that there's somebody in the distance shouting.
Right.
According to this.
And if you can, they can fade it to where you can barely read it, and it's almost like a shout. Did you understand what he was trying to say? I'm trying to understand it, but I can't. To me, that captures that really well.
Yes.
And the same thing.
If they're using a color scheme, I realize this is very basic with blue, white, and red right now.
Sure.
But if there's an actual color scheme of blue is things that people are saying in normal tone.
I think blue's talking discreetly because they're talking about jumping somebody. Might even be whisper.
Yeah.
Wait, it isn't a good time to jump them.
No, you're right.
Blue might be whispering. White's normal. And blue might be just talking discreetly also, because you can see it.
I'm just saying, if you use a combination of colors, opacity, something that you can recognize quickly, you don't even have to waste space typing out "this is yelled" or "this was whispered."
No, I agree. It doesn't have to say shout. Username shouts. Keep it down. Because it's in the color, and I like that a lot. Now, this does beg the question. Username is what they use in these examples. It just says username, and then what they said. How does this work with the sense of identity and being anonymous and strangers? Is it just going to say stranger, 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 stranger across there?
I would say, yeah. That's my sense of what they're going for.
And the other thing I have is, will it... Like, obviously, languages are going to be jumbled. Language is a huge part of this game, being able to understand each other. And I love that. But is it just going to be jumbled letters with the flavor of the language? So you don't know what they're speaking unless you can recognize the jumble? Much like real life when someone's rattling in Spanish or a Romance language, from the Romance family, I don't mean, not talking language of love like last podcast. But from the Romance family, you can kind of tell, Italian, Spanish, they're all kind of... what do they speak in Brazil? Help me out. Portuguese.
There you go.
They're all kind of the same family, so you can say, I recognize that family. You know what I mean?
Now, that would be really interesting if the
actual jumble.
Letter, you can't read the words that are up there, but you can see the letters, and if you've been around people speaking that language before, you can recognize that they're still speaking that language, as opposed to some other language you don't know, simply because you recognize the the word patterns.
No, and I also wonder, as your language skill goes up, and you don't have comprehension yet, but as it goes up, does the letters become a little clearer? That'd be an awesome algorithm to write to make really immersive. And I think that's
one of the things that they spoke about in the communication DJ was that you'll be able to pick out words. If you know a little bit of the language, you could pick out words of what someone's saying.
I mean, something as simple as like as your comprehension grows, like every third word or every random word, depending on your skill, just gets unscrambled. You can read what it says until there's a point where all of it is, or 90% of it is, or 50% would get you pretty good. Obviously, lots of room for misinterpretation, but that's that's just exciting, dynamic storytelling opportunities in my mind. Drama. I love that. It goes back. Keck.
Yeah.
Kick.
Well, and there was a way around that in World of Warcraft.
Did they just have a cipher to unscramble?
No, you could emote. Anything you emoted came out in plain text.
Plain text. Well, I don't know if you can just straight up emote or if they'll emote in their language.
Right.
In this game, you're going to be selecting what language you're speaking in. So even if you emote, it's going to come out in that language.
Right.
No, I'm excited about it, man. I really do like the wireframe. We talked about it last time. Is the chat system for neither one of us is a make or break deal. It's like, oh, they're going to use chat bubbles. I'm not playing.
No, and that's. But having said that, I am super excited about the possibilities. How many times have you ever got to say, talking about an MMO, that you were excited about the chat system?
No. Dude, that's one of the reasons we're making this freaking podcast is how excited we are over seemingly innocuous choices they make that add so much depth to this game.
Yes. We keep using the word flavor, but this game is just riddled with flavor.
Soulbound Studios looked into my soul and said, Kalus wants us to make this game.
How can we get Kalus to spend money on our game?
That's it. That was Jeremy Walsh's driving goal was my happiness. And I say that jokingly, but I really do think that it was. And not about me at all. I'm talking about he looked and said, this is what I hated about games and loved about games, and I want to get this to happen.
No, they see a hole in MMOs. MMOs have been so oversaturated.
Oh, without a doubt.
And they're all basically the same thing. Somebody's going to be like, no, they're not. But they are, for the most part, all the same thing. And this is going to be different.
Innovations since the dawn of MMOs have been so minor. 2D to 3D, or MUD to 2D, it was pretty big. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
2D to actual 3D was pretty big. I can't knock either of those. But since then, since basically the birth of Gen 1, which I call the first 3D ones, it's been more about stylistic choices. In other words, going from EQs, risk-reward initially.
No, in my opinion, it has been, how do we steal players from Blizzard?
Since Blizzard, yeah.
That's the game that's the MMO game that's been playing since 2004. How do we steal players from Blizzard?
So, that being said, we're excited about the chat system and what they showed us in this update. The quest for the new world.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Maps
are coming, people.
And that's another thing, is how do you make people excited about maps?
Yeah.
Easy. You let them choose their maps.
Yeah.
You let the players choose which map they're going to play on. That's how you make them excited about it.
So I don't know who gets. I mean, I know that the Oceanic server is going to have the islands. You know what I'm saying? That's just freaking cool that they're doing that.
They released a picture here in this blog of what the map voting screen is going to look like. I'm laughing because it should be a ridiculous thing, right? Choose server, choose map, vote.
Yeah.
And I look at this and I get excited about it because it means that we're that much closer
to land selection, to Alpha 1, to moving forward with the game.
I mean, how awesome is it going to be? Most of us already know what servers we want to play on, right? How awesome is it going to be to have a map even if it's just the outlines like they're showing here with the coast
Sure.
lines, and say that's my world.
Oh,
That's what my world is.
And that's the
gonna
thing
look
is they're showing this. I mean, these screenshots that they share in this update are just him working on coastlines. So he shared those on Discord, so they shared them in this.
Right.
But these are the maps that they vote on are gonna have mountain ranges and forests and rivers. You know, when you actually vote on.
confirmed? Did you read through that? Is that confirmed?
He said already. I mean, I don't see how you can pick a map based strictly off shape. I mean, you're going to have the mountain ranges and things like that to be able to pick your domain. No, I cannot say that I've seen that specifically. I know that he said that these are the screens with the topography turned off. So they can just click a switch and turn on mountains and whatnot. Now, maybe they're like, we don't want you to pick based off mountain ranges and forests and where possible resources will be. But I feel like that's kind of disingenuous if they do that and say, here, blindly pick based off a landmass picture.
They're going to be working on the finer details. It does not specifically say. I can't imagine.
I'm assuming
it won't be there. For
I want to be very clear.
selection.
I'm assuming they're going to show you at least the major geographical features.
I would be, if I had to guess their mindset in this, I would say yes. As many land features as possible are going to be visible when we do map selection.
Yes, I don't think there'll be ruins and maybe
No, not those kinds of things.
No,
I'm just saying actual natural features.
Yes.
Your rivers, your mountains, lakes, oceans, all of that stuff are going to be visible.
that holds true to the character of SBS so far and what they've done.
It does.
And
Yeah.
I would be surprised if they didn't do that completely. And so that being said, it's not just that we have a map finally and the features and that kind of thing. But once they get these maps voted in, then we actually get to land selection and the actual king who selected that land. You're going to know where his kingdom is. And if you're looking at a certain race, you're going to be able to see your options for where you can start. Not that, as far as within your race. And it's not just, I say race, tribe. I'm sorry, SBS, tribe.
No, it's exciting. It's super exciting. Just being able to look at a map and go, man, so if our kingdom goes here, that means that we could set up here, or
There.
how cool is it going to be for us to go and explore?
Do we want to be
How
near
cool
these
is
mountains?
that?
What about this? Are we going to be able to cross there? If we want to be explorers, do we want to set up by this forest over here, or is that going to hinder us? I don't really like the way. But besides all that, besides being able to start basing stuff off topography and mountain ranges and natural features and rivers, you get the political. Everything that's been in the Nimbus and the Discord servers and people trying to build kingdoms and start the Dance of Dynasties, it's going to solidify once the kingdom names start slapping down on these maps.
Do we know how long after map selection, land selection will take place? Or
Man,
is that
I was... do I... Hold on a second. Entertain people for a minute while I pull up the dev notes.
I have no skills for entertaining people, which is why I work with Kalus.
Dude, you're really shorthanded.
No, and you're right. All the people who've been making all of these plans, all of that stuff will really start to come to fruition when they can actually draw the borders. And you can't even begin to imagine what those borders are going to look like until we know what map we're playing on. And have we talked about the fact that it's not like we're voting against such and such server for maps, but we just have a list of maps to vote on.
As I understand it, again, I can't point to a specific Discord discussion or a post. I'm sure there is one. So YouTube, help us out in comments or contact us and let us know. Digressing, anytime you have an answer to a question that we pose to each other that we don't have an answer to, and you guys know it, hook us up. We love that.
Absolutely.
So that being said, as my understanding is that like the oceanic servers is designed to be archipelago or a collection of islands. So
series of islands.
The maps that they get to select from are going to be different variations of that. And like I don't know if Angelica and Luna are going to have separate styles or if they're but Angelica's going to have a set of maps to choose from. It's not like here's the maps, there's 30 of them, and once Angelica picks, then Luna gets to pick or insert whatever. Each one is its own entity of maps to choose from.
So there's going to be a series of maps. Whatever server that you're already making plans to play on, there's going to be a list of maps. This is our guess. I'm not stating this for fact. I'm saying we believe there's going to be a list of maps that you can vote on and those are not going to be the same maps that the other servers have. Is my understanding.
Right. Our understanding.
So you can't eat. There cannot. It's like, let's say Luna and Angelica wanted to make the same world. I don't think that's going to be an option.
No. Now they might be able to pick maps that are somewhat similar.
Similar, yeah, no similarities, no doubt.
But I think
you're not going to be able to pick the same two maps.
And on top of that, once it gets to land selection, it's going to be different kingdoms with different races.
Well, yeah, no doubt.
But no, these servers are going to, from the moment of map selection, are going to start diverging into. There are basically different realities. They're going to advance at different paces. They are going to have completely different geographical layouts and completely different biome layouts and racial spread, tribal spread.
Tribal spread. We may never get over that little hiccup of racism.
I will always say race. You said we're not going to get over racism.
I do have a racism because there's a race that's really starting to annoy me in the Discord servers.
Why you gotta hate on the Kaipex?
Man,
I don't know why. The Kinder type races just seem to attract Kinder like people. We're just gonna offend all the Kaipex lovers.
Oh, I get it's the same feeling, the same EQ vanilla gnome feeling of just these annoying little beggars running around.
Doing annoying little beggar things. Bugger, not beggar.
I don't think that it's going to be that way in this game, but I cannot shake that feeling. I cannot shake my tribal bias against them.
And that's the beauty of, honestly, I played a Dark Elf in EQ1, and it was simply because I was trying to do the Stein of Mogut quest, and so I've created it as an alt, and it ended up being my main forever. But I didn't care that it was a Dark Elf, because it really didn't matter in that world.
Right.
Other than I was kill on sight in certain places. That was the end of the immersion. Was okay. Be careful around the human guards, but in Keno's not Freeport. But the this game, they are working so hard to get. I actually dislike certain races already, and I love certain races already because there's so much flavor to them. Now, I don't know if that's just because I'm involved in this game's development, but they're working hard to put actual mechanics in the game. And
don't mistake us when we talk about the other tribes like this. We're not saying that we don't like the players who want to play these at all. I love you guys that you want to play this tribe.
I don't.
I love the.
Okay, so
without you, I would have nothing to loathe.
Yeah,
I love you. I love you for it.
No, it's diversity. They're making a world with where racism exists. Now, that sounds bad to say that, but that's a real drama point. Not only in our own world where it's an injustice and needs to be eradicated, and I'm all for that, but in a virtual world that just creates drama and tension between countries and kingdoms.
Right,
and that's just, to me, that's just exciting.
In game, we can go at each other with swords.
Yes.
In the real world, we can go out and have a beer.
Yes.
I'm all for that.
No, even the gnome players back in the day. Who was it was a halfling. Fig was a halfling.
Yeah, Fig was a halfling, but he was annoying.
Yeah, there's no doubt. In game, he annoyed living shit out of me, but he was one of the coolest people in real life.
Yes. Fig Mud and Toes.
Fig Cree, because he eventually joined the family.
Fig packs mud in your toes. Why is that? Why was that a thing? I don't understand. Fig, if you're out there, contact us. We want to talk to you.
Yeah, we'll talk to you. Bring you on the podcast. Talk about the good old days. What else was on there? We got the world generation, the map selection, the quest for pre-alpha. Oh, the client-side prediction. They basically go over a little bit of the client versus server optimizations and metrics that they're working on, and they're just updating us, which to me is technobabble. Again, it's like abracadabra shit. But the one minor thing I understand is the more stuff that's on the client side, the more that hackers have access to do stuff. So is that a concern of yours? Obviously it's a concern for every game company.
Game cheats are a constant war. I do not see an end to this war.
It's just reality.
Anytime the server sends packets to a client, those packets can be manipulated. So it's not like they can just build a rock solid system that keeps people from creating cheats. You're never going to have
it's
that.
just reality for online game creators.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And I mean, if it's a single player game, who gives a shit? You buy the game, you hack it. Good job for you. You win at life.
Congratulations.
You win
Congratulations.
at life.
You cheated.
You cheated. You cheated to beat yourself out of enjoying a game.
But no, these kinds of things are all about the player base. If the player base cares, they will fight against it. You know what I mean? PUBG is a great example of this. The player base in PUBG was flooded with cheats.
Mm-hmm.
They have started arresting people.
Like actually charging?
Arresting them. Like putting them in handcuffs and throwing them in jail.
Wow, I wonder what the legal precedent is for that. I don't know. I'm not.
Basically, they're modifying somebody's intellectual property, and they're finding ways to put them. I don't know how long. I don't know how hard it's going to stick.
No,
I don't know how much it matters.
Hey, I'm all
just
for
saying.
If you
I'm
can,
just saying.
If
they're arresting people.
If anything will protect my gaming experience, which is obviously one of the most important things in this world, throw people in jail. I'm all for it.
Put them in jail. Jail's confirmed.
No, and again,
have you seen that? Have you seen that in the Discord server? Every time one of the devs comes in and the word jail is brought up, it's followed by like 30 people going, jail's confirmed.
Jail's confirmed.
Yeah, because Snipe Hunter is always saying that they haven't quite figured out whether or not they're going to have a jail because they don't know precisely how to do it.
No, yeah, they're still working on.
But then later on, they go on and say, yeah, and then we just drag them off to jail. Jail's confirmed.
I was gonna reverse and go way backwards to the character sheet and all of the survival metrics and the hunger and thirst and how much tedium versus how much fun on, like, I have to drink. I need to stop and take a drink. I need to stop and swap my gear because I'm getting too hot. There's a fine line, and it's different for everybody, and so that's where SBS has to be careful of. I
do not have it right in front of me, but this was a discussion that was had on the Discord server within the last month or so.
Right.
Where they said they are hyper aware of this possibility for tedium in the survival mechanics, and it's their intention to make it not seem like your daily life does not consist of where do I get my water from, where do I get my food from.
Yeah, surviving. Just scraping out, keeping those bars full.
Surviving exists, but you're not going to be preoccupied, with more than 5% of your day trying to figure that out.
I'm fine with this, and I'll try to put it the best way I can. Like, surviving in the extreme, like, if me and you are, let's say, are going to make an exposition, we're going to go explore and map an area that's hitherto before been unmapped, right? So there's a need for maps in this area and possible resources and whatever our reasons are for doing it.
Right.
So me and you are like, okay, it's going to take us 2 weeks travel to get there. We need to pack enough food and supplies for 2 weeks travel to get there and back. So we pack for a month's worth of food and supplies. We're gonna have to find water along the way and things like that and all that. And I'm fine with that because that is dynamic, adventurous storytelling with risk reward. And we head off and do it. You know what I'm saying? Now let's say halfway into this, we get attacked by give me a good COE creature that hasn't been created yet. Go.
Armor bear.
Armor bear. Disappointed. Okay. Armor bear gets us. Come on, it's funny.
What do you want me to do? You threw me on the spot.
Yeah. Armor bear. I'm guessing armadillo and bear.
I was just thinking a bear with like plate armor on it. Yeah, armadillo bear.
Armadillo bear. The Dilla bear. Anyway.
The Dilla bear.
COE creature. He comes in and drags off our mule and with half of our supplies, so we have to make that choice right then and there. Are we turning back now? Are we going to track down the bear and try and get our supplies back? It's probably too late. It might be a death wish. Doesn't matter. It's choices in the game. And we decide for whatever reason we can press on because we can hunt. You know what I mean? And we do that, and then circumstances happen. But bottom line is, in the extreme, now we're out there, and we're like, what's Leonardo DiCaprio's movie where he's caught out there in the wilderness with nothing?
Revenant.
Yeah, Revenant. Now we're in a Revenant situation through circumstances, and that's where those bars really start mattering because they can make you dead. And that's a fun game to play of, can I get back to civilization? Can I survive? I enjoyed that aspect that it's there, but if it's like that every day, the everyday.
No,
norm,
and that's what they were saying, is that is not what the normal everyday experience is. That's not what they want it to be.
So I'm good with the extreme. So I'm glad the mechanic is there for the extreme and people who want to push that limit. And
no, if you're pushing the limit, you have to expect roadblocks.
Sure, and that's what makes this exciting.
Jump in your way. Yeah,
in other, I say that I'm sure other MMOs have put in food and drink, but to actually, I go back to like the trapper days in early colonial America, the guys who went off into the Mississippi Delta to collect furs. That was an adventure. Lewis and Clark, expeditions into the unknown. That can happen in this game because of the survival mechanic and the danger that comes with trying to survive while you go to where it's not easy to keep these bars full.
There has to be a balance system in the game that makes people think twice about doing certain things. Otherwise, you just have everybody doing whatever they want all the time, and the game loses that flavor that we're so fond of talking about.
Wilderness can't exist if you can just walk in a direction.
So if your count comes to you or comes to your village or wherever you are and says, we need a path between this town and this town that's shorter than the one we have. You don't want 50 people in the village just taking off into the wilds. You know what I mean? You want the people who can actually get it done. You want people to be like, you want the player to be sitting at his keyboard and go, that's really dangerous. I don't want to do that.
And the other person say, that's really dangerous. I can get that done.
Exactly.
But even before the count comes, that can't exist unless there is the danger with the survival mechanics and all that in place to make it to where you can't just, I'll walk that way.
Right, yeah.
Oh, I died? Okay, I'll walk that way some more.
Yeah.
Oh, armadillo bear killed me? Oh, no big deal. I'll start walking again.
Right.
So
that's where they're trying to draw that line of tedium that you were talking about. Is they're trying to find that, well, if you're in town all day, then finding food and water shouldn't be your goal because it's there, it's available.
No, that's I get that.
And it really only matters when you move away from civilization.
No,
that's when the survival aspect becomes so important.
That really, and it applies like you and me sitting here. I'm drinking my coffee and just finished eating some boiled eggs, and I'm not worried about hunger at all. Sitting in my comfy computer room talking to you,
right?
And same for you. But I enjoy survival camping. Not like I do it a lot, but I've gone out and done survival camping with just the backpack, and holy shit, it's hard. in the modern world, with me taking stuff to make fires with and things. And and I even took like MREs and stuff to eat, so I'm not trying to hunt for my food. So and I enjoy if that's what they're going for, and I think it is, like you said. So I beat that into the ground. Kickstarterversary, little more stuff to get to. It is the second year of the Kickstarterversary, or the Kickstarter, the anniversary, the Kickstarterversary. And
yes, that's such a terrible word. Kickstarterversary.
It is what it is. It's not as bad as.
No, I'm saying it's terrible to say.
Kickstarterversary.
The word is fine. It's terrible to try to say.
So they've got another event to raise money, of course, for SBS and keep this game funded and going. And they've offered quite a few bonuses to the community for reaching certain milestones in it. The top, if they raise $500,000 through this promotion over the month of May, then one of the races that's locked at launch will be unlocked. And it won't be just unlocked in everywhere, but they will be scattered throughout the warmer biomes. Will be the Madari. And that's pretty exciting, because before, each server had to go and discover the races. And so they'll actually be around.
Does this mean they're running out of things to crowdfund for, that they're willing to give up one of the races or one of the tribes?
I don't know if it's that, or they were just like, what can we do that is enough to be, because I mean, I'm excited about a lot of these things that they've offered, the boats and the farms they walk a fine line. They have to keep the player base excited about the release of this game, and they also cannot suck the player base dry.
Right.
and not be able to finish making this game. So it's a fine line. They have to. I get excited going to the store and looking at stuff that I might possibly say, if I get a little extra money, I'm going to get this.
That's not a lie. He does that. He does that all the time.
And there's people I know who spent thousands of dollars on this game, and I'm not in a position in my life where I can do that. But
10K kings.
yeah, I mean, even beyond that, I'm talking about people post facto becoming a king, have gone in and bought parcels of land and stuff to use in exposition and whatnot. But I think that they have to think to themselves, what would get people excited at this point? We're getting closer and closer to alpha. We're getting closer and closer to beta. Map selection and all the things we've talked about today. They're getting closer and closer to those things. So what can they release that would get people excited?
No, I agree with you. I agree with you that them choosing a tribe is a great thing. Well, my question is, does it feel like they sat around a table recently and said, well, what do we put at the end of this? Or was this something that they'd planned to do from the beginning?
I don't know if it was planned. I think it's more like this. When they decided on which races were going to be the initial races, and they decided to lock some away, which I think is great because the 10-year story arc and discovering the races should be a big deal on your server when you're like, holy crap, they've been discovered. And that's just cool storytelling, cool history of the world. And to do it before, like if Angelica does it before Luna, you know what I'm saying? And get that rivalry going and things like that.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe the Madari were like almost one of the opening races anyway.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And then they were like, hey, remember how we barely cut the Madari? How about we make it where we unlock a few of them? Yeah, and that's all conjecture on my part. But
so you think that they were like right on the cusp of putting them in, and we're like, you know what, this would be a great thing to give the players.
Yeah. As
part of this Kickstarterversary event.
And it's a huge deal. So it's everything in one. And again, that's me and you sitting around having this conversation, pretending like we're sitting in a boardroom at SBS Studios, going, "This is what Caspian probably said." Yeah, well then Vi said this, and then Snipe Hunter came in.
We often pretend like we know everything.
Yes.
It's just the way we are.
That's what makes us. But that's what makes me enjoy my conversations with Patch. He follows the meanderings of my brain so well.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
I will.
But they basically announced boats.
Well, I mean, they said that the boats were in the game. Now, ships.
No,
and sea travel.
They've always said. Okay, I see what you're saying. The distinction here between the ship boats and the small boats.
Yes, it's like Civilization. When you first get your boat, it just travels around the coastline.
Right.
Getting in the deep waters, you just swallowed up.
We've always known that boats were a plan. But isn't this the first time they've actually...
This is the first thing on boats I've ever seen, as far as an actual boat in the game.
So they may have talked about it before, but now they're actually letting people get them. So that means intercoastal waterways, your rivers, your lakes, your ponds.
Oh, just the fact that boats, rafts, even just freshwater craft makes rivers. Because look at every major city in anywhere that's been around since pre-industrial times, and it was built on a river for a reason.
Right.
You can look at any of them. I say river, river or
rivers,
coast.
coastlines. Yeah.
And usually the largest cities were built on a combination of mouth of a river and coast.
Right. Where the river meets the ocean.
Yes.
Where the river meets the sea. However you want to look at it. That's what makes it. Yeah.
There's very few just ginormous cities built in the plains. It's pre-industrial.
Now, since you know quite a bit more than I do, have they discussed
about everything in
fishing?
Life? I've heard Discord stuff on fishing, but no, I'm nothing like the crafting side. When I say crafting side of it, nothing on the mechanical side.
And I'm not even talking about like rod and reel fishing. I'm talking about like throwing nets and bringing in boats full of fish.
I've heard nothing on it.
Okay.
My point on that is it really worth creating a mechanic to do that versus finishing up like combat? Getting the game out.
Mechanically speaking, I'm not saying that it should be more important than other things. I'm just saying that if there's boats and I can take a boat out onto a lake,
and throw a net.
It would be cool to be able to throw a net,
pull
and
it in
back,
and see. Yeah.
100 pounds of fish and sell them.
It doesn't seem like it'd be that big a stretch to put that in the game. If they already have rod and reel fishing, especially, which, you can't have a MMO without rod and reel fishing of some sort. Even Toontown had rod and reel fishing. But so that being said, yeah, if you have a fishing skill and you create a net, you get to go to the weavers and they make it for you and you throw it in and you get your fishing.
I'm just saying that would be cool.
You get your fishing technique that is the net throw, or whatever, and you. Again, it depends on if the economy will support it. I'm saying the in-game economy, and it could just be really fantastic.
It could be.
And that's where I go back to the hunger and the thirst. Are they only taken care of if a bunch of people are off doing these things to make sure that those things are negligible in the city, or the village? If no one goes out and fishes and no one farms corn, is it going to be? I mean, in real life, if no one did those things, it's going to be hardcore survival in that city.
Right. I agree.
So it's that.
But at the same time, cities are supported by the smaller communities around them. I mean,
the farming communities support the giant city by sitting in their bushels of corn and all. I get that. No, what I'm saying is, let's just take a settlement out in wherever Elyria. It's not a major. It exists, someone put it down and they're mayor of it and all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying if the people in the area don't want to farm and create food and slaughter cows or whatever and have good food stocks there, how much does that survival mechanic start kicking in just to exist in that?
And how much control does the mayor have for allowing NPCs to fill those roles?
Yeah. And again, that's why it's so exciting to get to the Alpha 1, Alpha 2 and start seeing how that stuff starts playing out. Because who's paying for the corn and beef to make it worthwhile to have there to get rid of these issues? And if no one's paying for it, if the tavern can collect money from the citizenry and then buy beef and stuff to keep those buffs going. I say buffs in the term that...
Well, if I was inclined to be a landowner... Right. And buy up, pieces of land or however that works. I mean, I don't think it would be a difficult thing to hire NPCs to actually do the farming while I sit in the house,
Sure. No, that's a good point. Or
you know what I mean?
Even OPCs, that.
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, come work for me in your offline time and I'll pay you.
Yeah. If it keeps your buff full and makes it where you don't have to worry about eating.
Right. I'm just saying I don't foresee that that's going to be the food issue in a township somewhere or a village. I don't think that's going to be a huge deal.
If it's not, then I see a problem, and if it is, I see a problem. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. Final thing before we wrap this up, we got YouTube. Comments, any comments we want to discuss. We love your comments. That's what we want. That's the main reason we're doing this podcast, is to interact with you, the listener. So
we eat it up.
Please go to YouTube when you listen to these, or send us an email at vendortrash27@gmail.com and we will hit on them. Grizzly Coleman talked to us about executing someone permanently. You take the victim to open deep ocean waters, you coup de grace them on the boat, push the corpse off to sink to the bottom, and they can't spirit walk to that and sail away.
Yeah, I've seen that talked about on Discord quite a bit.
Quite a bit about permanent death in open waters. And so, and I've seen people talk about it all the time as a way to punish people. And to me, I just don't even give it too much thought, because this is something that's going to have to be play tested and worked on, because it's part of the crime and punishment system. It's something that can be brutally abused by player characters. And I think that SBS is going to have to figure out the mechanic they're going to do on this.
Right.
Because consequences have actions in this world. I don't think... It's got to be harder to drag people than we think. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I know you can incapacitate someone and drag them towards the magistrate. That's been talked about in Discord and on some of the dev journals. And I don't know where that currently stands in the development process. But as far as incapacitating someone and then dragging them onto a boat and taking them out to open waters, beating them to death, and then dropping them over the side.
It's just something as simple as an arrest mechanic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it sucks. It sucks for the player, but the reality is that that's something that can happen in real life, is that you get detained.
No, without a doubt. The problem is being detained isn't fun. If I only have 2 hours let's just say it's my Saturday and I got 2 hours to play and I'm really looking forward to it. If that 2 hours can be ruined by someone detaining me, then maybe once it's cool because it's a fun story to figure out how to beat it and I can make something, you know what I'm saying? But
Right.
if my precious online playtime can be taken away by other players, that to me is a
Indiscriminately, I think, is what you're talking about, right? You didn't actually do anything to warrant this. Someone's just messing with you.
oh, I mean, no. If I deserve it, then it's part of my story. If I'm a Arc Lord thief,
I'm just trying to make sure that we're being defined here, because if somebody just spends all of their time stealing, murdering,
I know, but
doing all these bad things, they should expect some of their playtime to be taken up with the consequences of their actions.
But I'm discussing
if they get caught.
Kind of discussing slippery slope here of what makes it. If they're giving this world to the players and saying, "Here, go enjoy it," and there's consequences for your actions. Blah blah blah. It's freedom and all the stuff we've talked about. Then we've talked before about being falsely accused and.
But if the captain of the guard just has it in for you, and every time you log on, he arrests you and makes it so that your online time is in his arrest,
right,
in his custody. That sucks.
No, that ruins your play experience. I mean,
It completely ruins it for you.
But if you don't have a mechanic for detaining people, and then you get the option of people can just be trolls and then just run around, and there's no player consequences for action. So it's, again, Alpha 2.
No, it is a harsh thing to look at, that we want a mechanic that we can deal with,
In-game,
for lack of a better word, the griefers.
In-game deal with griefers.
But that mechanic can then be turned around against us and used to grief us.
Right. And that's the danger always between... yeah. Grizzly Coleman also came to us and said, "Thanks, guys. EQ is the only MMO I've ever played. Great to reminisce while you were talking. Have not found an MMO since EQ that has caught my interest until this one. Welcome to the club, because you're not alone.
Yeah.
I can't get enough COE info and discussion, so very happy to listen to as many of these as you want to produce." Thank you for listening. Thank you for making a comment. And I know everybody that listens to me knows I loved EverQuest. To me, it was the golden age. And now I'm ready for the platinum age of Chronicles.
The Platinum Age, the Paragon, the Paragon of MMOs.
For now,
Meow.
until thought. And what was my earlier thing? Thought broadcasting?
Until you can plug your brain into the net.
Yeah. What was that, Wall-E, where I just sit in my little floaty chair and live in the world and slay dragons?
Yeah, that'll be the time. We are Vendor Trash.
If you got comments, discussions, things you'd like to hear about, hit us up at vendortrash27@gmail.com or in the comments section of YouTube.
You can also find us at VendorTrash27 on Facebook, VendorTrash27 on Twitter.
Yeehaw! It was fun, Patch.
It was a lot of fun, sir.
We'll see you at...
I love the meandering style of start one place, go off on a long tangent, come back, and forget what we were talking about. That's great.
Glad you enjoy it. That's the path my brain takes on everything.
I wasn't just meeting you.
I know. That's why we get along. We'll see you on episode 7.
Later, brother.